Before you can lead an army into battle, you must first learn the 9 principles of the art of war, written by the famous warrior and philosopher Sun Tzu. His teachings come to us from ancient books, and his infinite wisdom about warfare and military tactics still apply to this day. I will guide you and teach you these most important lessons, Commander. Listen very well. Sun Tzu teaches us not only how to engage our enemies, but also how to manage logistics. An army cannot fight without the proper supplies. Without food, arrows, and arms, an army cannot stand its ground. In the words of Sun Tzu, bring war material with you from home, but forage in enemy territory. Then the army will have enough food to survive. Let us see if you understand this advice. As you are growing your civilization, it's important to begin in the right manner. A thriving early economy will allow you to reach the feudal age in a strong position, from which you can continue to grow and ably battle your opponent. We'll start off with gathering food from our sheep. It is important to note that all animals decay while you harvest food from them. Make sure not to kill all your animals at once. We will focus all of our villagers on a single sheep, and once they are done harvesting meat, move them all together to the next one. This minimizes the food decay. When gathering resources, it is important not to lose too much time walking to the nearest gather point. Make sure to place your mills, lumber camps, mining camps, and town centers close to resources. You can also queue up multiple tasks for your villagers by holding down the Shift key when assigning tasks. This is a new feature in the Definitive Edition. The last lesson is a dangerous one, so pay attention. Boars are very difficult to hunt. They are far away and fight back fiercely when you attack them. However, it is possible to lure a boar to your town center and kill it safely. Before we do this, we may want to research loom in the town center, as it makes our villagers stronger. Next, select one villager. Then right-click on a nearby boar to go hunt it. Watch closely as the villager shoots it twice. Now that the boar is properly aggravated and is charging at the villager, task your villager to run back to the safety of your town center. Once the boar is close to the town center, have other nearby villagers shoot the boar to kill it. Excellent! Dinner is served. A good commander must learn to be decisive in war. Hesitation or mistakes can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Just as a soldier practices his spear thrusts, so too must a commander learn to be efficient and repeat tasks until he knows them by heart. Sun Tzu says, a clever fighter wins his battles by making no mistakes. Making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. Few generals make it this far. Let us see if you are one of them. One of the most common strategies in multiplayer games is the Fast Castle Age strategy. Today, you will learn to execute a particular build order for this. A build order is a set of instructions to be strictly followed in order to guarantee the most efficient gameplay. They are quite common in multiplayer games, so research them in your free time. First of all, it is very important to never leave your town center idle. Check your town center regularly to see if a villager is being trained. If not, use the Go to Town Center hotkey to jump to your town center and click the Create Villager button to train or queue up another villager. If you do not have enough food, force your villagers gathering food to drop off their resources. Use the rally flag in your town center to task it to send new villagers to a resource or construction site when they are trained or ungarrisoned. When villagers are newly created or when they complete a task, they can go idle. Keep an eye on the idle indicator on your top panel. Click on it or use the Idle Villager hotkey to cycle between idle villagers and send them back to work. Remember, build orders are a great way to improve your play, but do not forget to strategize. No single game is the same, so you will often need to think outside of the box. Good luck. As your army grows, so do your responsibilities. Not only must you look after your soldiers, but also after their families. It is of great importance that your people are fed, that your population grows, and that your towns increase in size. Sun Tzu says, "The command of a large force is the same principle as the command of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers." An army is only as strong as the economy that supports it. A large army requires a large population and a surplus of food, gold, and other resources. Show me that you understand this important lesson. Booming is a common strategy for team games, especially on easily defensible maps such as Black Forest or Arena. It means building a strong economy before producing a powerful military. Booming makes you vulnerable until you reach the Imperial Age, but if executed properly, this strategy will allow you to overwhelm your enemies with large armies. The key to booming is ensuring constant production of villagers. Ideally, about half of your total population room should be villagers. To achieve this, you must build multiple town centers and ensure that they are always training new villagers. This requires a large amount of resources, especially food and wood, so finding the right balance will be important. You can also improve the resource gathering rate of your villagers by researching economic technologies at the town center, lumber camp, mill, and mining camp. These technologies are important, so do not ignore them. Apply these lessons and your empire will thrive. A commander goes to war with the army that he has, and must think of how to get the most out of it. Your opponent may seem stronger at first glance, but a sly general does not worry. He studies the enemy and the terrain and knows how to use his soldiers to maximum effect. Sun Tzu says, "The good fighters of old put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat and then waited for an opportunity to defeat the enemy." Did you understand what this advice should tell you? Good. Then it is time to send your troops into battle. And do not forget to always keep a level head. In this challenge, you will learn advanced tactics which will help you gain the upper hand on your opponents. First of all, always try to use your units according to their strengths and weaknesses. I will explain the standard unit types. If you want to learn more about other units, consult the technology tree. Archers are strong against infantry, but weak against skirmishers. Spearmen are strong against scout cavalry, but are not of much use against men-at-arms and archers. Skirmishers have a bonus attack against archers and spearmen, but lose out against all other kinds of military units. Men-at-arms are especially good against buildings. However, they also fare well against other units unless they are outnumbered. Scout cavalry are strong against skirmishers, but will also fare well against small groups of archers and are excellent raiders to boot. When commanding ranged units, your best chance when facing a numerically superior force is to use hit-and-run tactics. Use your archers to shoot at the enemy units. Then run away when they get too close. Take note of the surrounding terrain. If you fight downhill or from behind a cliff, your units will do additional damage to enemy units. If you fight in a narrow passage, a smaller group of units can overcome a larger one by exploiting the bottleneck. Now that you have learned these important lessons, let us see how you fare on the battlefield. You may encounter adversaries that do not have the courage to face you on the field. It can be expected that some of your rivals will prefer to hide behind the walls of their strongholds. Besieging an enemy castle is an art of its own that every able general must master. Sun Tzu says, "A warlike prince carries out his own secret designs, keeping his antagonists in awe. Then he is able to capture their cities and overthrow their kingdoms. Now is the time to familiarize yourself with the construction and usage of siege equipment. Will you be able to bring down the walls of your opponent? Sometimes it is crucial to overcome your opponent early on. This is especially the case if the civilization matchup and map favor your opponent during the late stages of the game. In this challenge, you will learn how to quickly destroy an enemy castle. As soon as you reach the castle age and build a siege workshop, you can construct 4 different types of siege weapons. To destroy a castle, you will only need battering rams. These are best equipped to smash fortifications due to their high pierce armor and attack bonus against buildings. Garrison units inside of the rams to make the rams move faster and to increase their attack against buildings. Once you reach the Imperial Age, the trebuchet will become available at your castle. It is in many ways the most powerful siege weapon in the game, but it needs to pack and unpack when reloading to fire at enemy buildings. The bombard cannon does not have that problem, but it has lower attack and range than the trebuchet. Bombard cannons are also effective against units. However, you must first research chemistry at the university before you may produce them. If you decide to attack enemy fortifications, make sure that you have enough soldiers to defend your siege units. Unprotected siege weapons are quite vulnerable. Additionally, research the armor and attack upgrades at your blacksmith so that your soldiers stand a better chance against enemy defenders. Enough talk. Let's tear down a castle. Sometimes you will face an enemy stronger than yourself. Be like a wrestler who is smaller than his opponent. He does not meet his opponent's strength with his own, but instead looks for his enemy's weakness. So too must you learn to strike your enemy where he is vulnerable and cut his supply lines before you can meet strength with strength. Here is the virtue in raiding. On this subject, Sun Tzu advises, the impact of your army should be like a grindstone dashed against an egg. This is achieved through the knowledge of weak and strong points. Be relentless, because the enemy will be relentless as well. Now, show me what you have learned. Early attacks, also called rushes, are often a cat-and-mouse game. You can harass the enemy economy by sending military units to attack enemy villagers. If the villagers fight back, or if enemy soldiers arrive, your raiders should retreat and seek better opportunities. Try to pick off any weak or separated villager instead of going for large groups. That way, you will do the most damage while sustaining the least losses. Do not chase villagers when they are too close to their town center. You will risk losing several units to the arrows that it shoots. Keep an eye on your own economy while you attack the enemy. You must keep collecting more resources and training villagers so you can continue to train new soldiers, upgrade your military, and finally advance to the next age yourself. The best of luck to you. You are not the only one who will be raiding. Your opponent will not hesitate to attack you when and where you are weakest. Therefore, you must use your skills to defend your people and train your peasants to defend themselves. Hence, that general is skillful in attack whose opponent does not know what to defend, and he is skillful in defense whose opponent does not know what to attack. Sun Tzu wrote, "Show strength where you are weak. Wherever the enemy attacks, show him that you are ready to repel his soldiers. Be ready and prepared, Commander, because now it is up to you." The enemy player will usually not stand idle while you build your empire. Learning how to maintain growth while under pressure from enemy attacks is vital to your empire's survival. As you can see, your base is surrounded by impassable objects such as trees, mines, and forage bushes. These will act as a natural barrier between your units and those of the enemy. However, in between them are gaps through which the enemy can advance. To defend your base, you will have to use your villagers to build walls, gates, and buildings to close these gaps. like this. When the enemy sends in their military units, your top priority is to protect your villagers. Ringing the bell of your town center is an option, but it will paralyze your economy. Instead, just garrison the villagers that are in immediate danger. A watchtower offers both protection for your villagers and defense for your base. Make sure enemy units cannot position themselves within one tile of your tower, however. Your towers cannot shoot at units adjacent to them until you research murder holes in the Castle Age. Pre-Castle Age units like militia, men-at-arms, spearmen, scout cavalry, archers, and skirmishers are not strong enough to destroy a base on their own. Instead, they are used to harass and kill enemy villagers to damage the enemy economy. During such an early rush, it is possible to fight back. If you have more villagers than the enemy has military units, or if you have military units of your own, use them to fight the invaders. Just make sure that you do not lose any villagers. That would harm you more than keeping them garrisoned. Focus on the enemy units with low hit points first. Villagers do not fight automatically, so you must manage them carefully. I hear the enemy approaching. Take up arms and fend off their attack. Sun Tzu stresses balance, but a commander will not always have his 2 feet on solid ground. Sometimes he must set sail to achieve victory. Rivers must be navigated to open new trade routes, and oceans must be crossed to make new discoveries. But what if your opponent also has brought ships to sea? Sun Tzu teaches us, the onrush of a conquering force is like the bursting of pent-up waters into a chasm 1,000 fathoms deep. You are not water-shy, are you? Good. The captains of your fleet are awaiting your orders. There are 3 main types of warships available for use against your opponents. Galleys equipped to fire from a distance, fire ships for close combat, and exploding demolition ships. Each of these warships has its own strengths and weaknesses. The war galley fires bolts from a long distance, but the fast, maneuverable fire ship with its high pierce armor is an excellent counter to it. Demolition ships, on the other hand, are fast and very effective at clearing out groups of enemy ships in one devastating explosion. They do especially well against groups of fire ships. However, if the approaching demolition ships are targeted by war galleys, they will be sunk before they can get close enough to cause any damage. Using the 3 ship types efficiently requires some practice. Hoist the sails and prove your mettle. The most important thing for an army is discipline. A disciplined army can be vastly outnumbered, but still seize victory. A disciplined army can hold their ground, move around the battlefield quickly, and, if necessary, retreat in an orderly fashion. When fielding your army, Sun Tzu says, whether to concentrate or to divide your troops must be decided by circumstances. Use fast forces against slow ones. Use feigned retreats to lure your enemies into ambushes, and split your army to flank your enemy. This is what Sun Tzu teaches us. Do you understand this lesson? If so, take command of your army and show me that you do. Groups of soldiers have 4 different battle formations: line, box, staggered, and flank formation. Line formation is the standard battle formation. It densely packs your units, making them fight well against other units. Flank formation divides your army, sending one half to one side and the other half to the other side. This is useful for avoiding projectiles, like those from mangonels and bombard cannons. With staggered formation, your units spread out. This makes them less vulnerable to area damage or to scorpion missiles, which pass through units. box formation is designed to protect vulnerable units in the center by surrounding them with stronger units. However, this is not used as much in online games, as it spreads out the group and makes the units on the outside easier targets. To manage large groups of different unit types, it is always a good idea to use control groups. This helps you to quickly select and move them around on the battlefield. To create a control group, select a group of units and simultaneously press Control and one of the number keys, 1 through 9. Then, to select a control group, press the same number. You can have up to 10 groups at the same time. With this knowledge, you should be able to maneuver your army around more easily. Go ahead and practice it in the next challenge.